Let's get straight to the Al Bayt Stadium in Doha, where England are celebrating a place in the quarter-finals of the World Cup after beating Senegal 3-0. We'll bring you the goals from tonight's game later this hour, but for now, let's join our senior reporter Rob Dorset live in Qatar. And Rob, what was your overall assessment of that England win?
Well, in the end, it was a cruise. It was a really enjoyable game for the England fans to watch. After a nervy first 30 minutes, I think you have to say, where Senegal really threatened. Jordan Pickford pulled off one particularly impressive save with his left hand, and there were too many gaps in that England defence for Southgate's liking. After that nervy first 30 minutes, it turned into a cruise for England, didn't it? Goals from Henderson, Kane and Saka led them to a comfortable victory. I think the things that I took out of the game are a reminder that Jude Bellingham is world class and possibly already, even at the age of 19, one of, if not the, most important England player in that starting 11 and in this squad of 26. His ability on the ball, his energy to drive through the midfield was outstanding tonight, and the partnership that he's forged with Jordan Henderson on the pitch and off it, by the way, was really key tonight. I think you have to say that Gareth Southgate got the big calls absolutely spot on again, with the proviso that Raheem Sterling, remember, was absent from this game because he's dealing with a family matter, so whether he would have played, we don't know. But what you have to say is that whilst in the first game against Iran, Sterling and Saka were the options and they got 3 goals between them. In the third game against Wales, it was Rashford and Foden who were chosen and they got the 3 goals. Tonight, Saka and Foden were the big calls out wide. Saka got his goal, Foden got 2 assists, and they were both outstanding, you have to say. I think Harry Kane getting his goal was absolutely huge for him and for England. If England have aspirations of winning the World Cup, then Harry Kane has to be getting the goals. He's now 1 goal behind Wayne Rooney in the all-time England leading goal scorers list, and holds a record of his own now as the man who's scored more goals than anybody else in major tournaments. That will be a huge boost for him. And then I think finally it looked like, we don't know yet, but there were no injuries for England's players, and because they were so comfortable, Southgate was able to rotate the squad and rest some players, bring off some key individuals who've played a lot of football and rest them with a huge game on the horizon on Saturday. We thought there might be a defining moment, a defining game in this World Cup for England. It's on the horizon as they play the world champions France on Saturday. That's a huge clash now, but England go into it in very good shape.
A huge game to look forward to, Rob. In terms of the opening half for England, the opening half hour was a little nervy, a little edgy at times, but you mentioned Jude Bellingham's impact, and it was a huge impact from him, wasn't it? Heavily involved in both of England's goals and rightly getting lots of plaudits tonight among fans watching the game.
He's extraordinary, and look, it's hard to think that before this World Cup, Gareth Southgate had some doubts, I can tell you, behind the scenes about whether a 19-year-old player would be ready to take on the biggest stage. But it was a brave call by Southgate to include Bellingham in that opening game against Iran, and since then neither of them have looked back, because Jude Bellingham has been one of England's best players in all 4 games now in this World Cup. He started all 4 and has become an absolutely key player. He's the player that England have been looking for so long, a genuine number 8, box to box, as good at breaking up play and stopping, in this case, Senegal attacks, as he is as driving the ball forward, getting England through the thirds and picking out a key pass that England have scored goals from. He's clearly enjoying it. I understand he's become really close with Jordan Henderson in camp, off the pitch. You saw it there on the pitch. After he set up Henderson for the first goal, Bellingham called for the applause of the England fans for his mate Henderson, and Henderson returned it by calling for the England fans to applaud Jude Bellingham. So that is a blossoming partnership. And again, give credit to Declan Rice, him anchoring that midfield allows both of those other 2 players to drift in and out the game and chase the ball and get England up the pitch. But yes, Jude Bellingham is an absolute superstar. The fact that he was able to be brought off after an hour means he can rest his legs for that big game against France. You sense he will be a key player if England are going to progress beyond the world champions and get anywhere near the quarter-finals.
There were some big selection calls for Gareth Southgate to make, as there have been throughout this tournament. No Marcus Rashford in the starting 11 tonight. Many viewed that as a huge decision given his performance against Wales in that last group game.
Massive call. And look, I didn't agree with it, I'll be honest with you. I thought Marcus Rashford should have started the game tonight. Remember, he's scored 3 goals in this World Cup. Until Kylian Mbappe scored 2 earlier for France, he was leading the way, level with Mbappe and others, in the chase for the golden boot. He looks sharp, he looks on fire. His direct running, his shooting at the earliest opportunity, I thought would be key for England. But Southgate proved me wrong and proved everybody else who doubted him wrong as well. He's said an awful lot in recent days, Gareth Southgate, about the team that finishes a game being as important as the team that starts the game. And we put an awful lot of stock, don't we, in the starting 11? Of course we do. But actually, keeping somebody with Rashford's pace and power and ability to score goals for the latter stages of the game when the opponents are tiring kind of makes sense. He is an impact substitute. He didn't have to make an impact tonight because England had already got the game won by the time. He will be fresh if called upon to start against France. And whilst there'll be a number of England supporters and Rashford himself, I'm sure, who was very disappointed that he didn't get a start, you can't question the manager, can you? He got us to a World Cup semi-final 4 years ago, the Euros final, and for me, Gareth Southgate's tactical nous is growing still further in this tournament. He's been a little bit more adventurous, going with the 4-3-3 formation, giving the likes of Bellingham freedom to roam instead of shackling him with a defensive midfield mindset. And it's paying dividends. So yeah, look, Southgate's had his critics going into this tournament. England had gone 6 games without a win, and there were some fans, maybe numerous fans, saying he'd had his time. I don't think there are many England fans saying that tonight.
Rob, Raheem Sterling wasn't available for selection tonight because he was dealing with a family matter. Do you have any insight at all as to whether he may be available for next weekend's game against France?
We don't, and I think that will be a key question for Gareth Southgate in his post-match news conference, which we expect to come through to us in the next half an hour, 45 minutes or so. A key question for the manager, because of course, while we wouldn't want to pry into what those personal family matters are for Raheem Sterling, it was clearly quite a late decision for him to not be included in this matchday squad. And on a very practical note, if Raheem Sterling feels he is not available, or for whatever practical reason can't be available for a huge game for England, their first knockout game at a World Cup at this stage of the tournament, you have to ask serious questions about whether that family situation will resolve itself in time where Sterling himself feels able to take a part in a huge quarter-final against France. It may be that the manager doesn't shed too much more light on that issue in his post-match news conference because it's clearly personal and it's clearly still a live issue. You know, it happened so late in the England camp that they were still dealing with it today, I understand, as Southgate was putting his final plans together to name the starting 11. It changed his plans somewhat. We don't know whether Sterling was in the starting 11, however. So what happens in the next hours and days, I think, will determine what part Sterling can play in a quarter-final and potentially any games after that. The good news for Southgate and for Sterling is they've got a bit of time off now because they're in the early part of the knockout stages. Remember, England were in Group B at the start. They've got a bit more time than some of the other sides. England play France on Saturday now, so they've got 5 days to rest, recover and prepare for that game. Gareth Southgate and Raheem Sterling will hope that's enough time to resolve whatever issues he's dealing with away from this England camp.
Rob Dorset live in Qatar. Thanks very much indeed for now. Jay Bothroyd watched the game with us here in the studio this evening. Jay, what was your overall impression of that England performance?
I mean, overall, I was really happy with it. It was a great 60 minutes. I think the 30 minutes at the beginning was a bit shaky. I think against better opposition, we can't make the same kind of mistakes that we did in the first 30 minutes. Because obviously you look at the French team and, you know, Mbappe, Giroud, Dembele, they're going to punish us. So I think we need to really tighten up on that, especially at the beginning of the games. But I think 60 minutes was really, really good. Created chances, another clean sheet, which is really important as well. But I look at this squad and I think there's a really good blend of youth and experience now. I would say that the back line is, you know, pretty experienced. You look into midfield, there's legs in there now as well. When you look at Rice, you look at Bellingham, and then you've got the experience of Henderson pulling people around, telling people to go, maybe stay back, kill the game sometimes. And then you've got the youth up front, which is Foden and Saka in the wide areas. And then you've got the experience of Kane, who's, you know, he's an absolute goal scorer. And now we scored this goal tonight. Hopefully he can push on and get more.
How concerned were you about that opening half an hour or so in terms of the performance, or can that just happen at major tournaments? You have a slight dip at certain points.
I had concerns because if we're going to lose games, I think we're going to lose games in those kind of areas where we got exposed, which is down the sides of our centre-backs. Tonight, there was Sarr, there was Dia with their pace that was causing us problems. And I think going into the latter stages, you look at France's pace, I don't want to look too far beyond, but that can cause us a real problem. And they're good finishers. Senegal will be kicking themselves tonight. They missed some really big chances, and it could have been a different game. But you know, goals change games.
It's a classic expression, isn't it? Goals
Exactly,
do change
yeah.
games, and Jude Bellingham was heavily involved in England's first 2 goals. How impressed were you with him?
I mean, I said it at the start of the show. For someone so young, he plays with a real maturity. I don't really see a weakness in his game. He gets forward well, he's a box-to-box midfielder, he tackles really well, he can dribble, he sees a pass. And tonight he was involved in the goals. And, you know, they pretty much come because of him, at least 2 of them did. It was a great performance from him. The first 10 minutes he was trying to G up the players, even someone so young, he's having a go at experienced players, pulling them around the pitch, which I thought was really good. But I think, like I said, there's a good blend at the moment. There's good team spirit, and hopefully that can, you know, make us successful.
And in terms of some of the other positives to take from it, Harry Kane getting his first goal of the tournament, that must give him a big confidence boost.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're a striker, you know, there's some games where you feel like, you know, I've played really well today, but I've missed some big chances. Before he scored the goal, he missed a huge chance. And I heard him speak after the game. He said that he should have done better with that. And I think when them kind of chances fall to Harry Kane in the box, you would expect him to at least hit the target. He blazed it over, but then when that chance did come to him, where he's running through on goal, 1v1 with the keeper, there was never any doubt. He had time to really pick his spot, and he dispatched it so well. He's so clinical, and I think when you give him them kind of chances, you know, you can, 9 times out of 10, he'll probably score. But for me, that second half especially, he was playing higher up the pitch. He wasn't coming so deep. And I don't mind if he comes deep, but as long as he gets himself back in the box. Or if he comes deep, I need to see the wide players running in behind. Second half, we've done that really well. And of course, he got his goals. Foden got 2 assists, Saka got a goal, which was, you know, great from the forward line. It was a really good combination. Will he change it going into the next game? I doubt it.
Be fascinating to know what he will do next. Jay, thanks very much indeed for now.